Significant winter storm likely across portions of the southern U.S. this week. A rare Gulf Coast and Southeast Atlantic coast winter storm is becoming more likely beginning Tuesday, as an anomalously cold air mass settles across the eastern 2-3 of the CONUS and sets the stage for the upcoming low-pressure system. As this cold air floods across the region, an intensifying shortwave will dig out of the Great Basin and then sharpen as it pivots eastward from West Texas through the Gulf Coast Tuesday into Wednesday. As this occurs, some interaction with a northern stream impulse will yield a positively tilted full latitude trough shifting east, with the resultant downstream jet streak intensifying and shifting poleward to place the favorable RRQ atop the Gulf Coast. The overlap of height falls and upper diffluence will help spawn a wave of low pressure across the Gulf of Mexico, and as 300K isentropic ascent maximizes to the north, precipitation will begin to overspread eastern Texas Tuesday morning, before becoming more expansive across the Gulf Coast and eventually coastal southeast Tuesday night into Wednesday. Mean troughing over the central U.S. on Thursday will shift east with time, exiting the east coast by the weekend. Behind this, some upper ridging should move in, finally helping to moderate bitterly cold late-week temperatures across the east and south. A shortwave through western Canada on Thursday will split, sending northern stream energy through the northern U.S. tier Great Lakes northeast as southern stream energy dives south and rapidly intensifies. Guidance has come into better agreement that a closed upper low may develop over California into the southwest this weekend. This may bring some much-needed precipitation to parts of Southern California, which has been stricken with devastating wildfires lately. Mean troughing over the central U.S. on Thursday will shift east with time, exiting the east coast by the weekend. Behind this, some upper ridging should move in, finally helping to moderate bitterly cold late-week temperatures across the east and south. A shortwave through western Canada on Thursday will split, sending northern stream energy through the northern U.S. tier Great Lakes northeast as southern stream energy dives south and rapidly intensifies. Guidance has come into better agreement that a closed upper low may develop over California into the southwest this weekend. This may bring some much-needed precipitation to parts of Southern California, which has been stricken with devastating wildfires lately. This snowfall is expected to be near the tropics. This is how it is set up. This is the situation. For many, the first major front is currently passing. That prepares the ground for the descent of that colder air. In a moment, I want to show you that cold air, and then this feed, which is coming in through here from the Pacific, as you can see with this cloud cover, will bring in the moisture. When it comes to the weather, timing is crucial. Our punch is 1 to 2. The cold air can then be moved because of how swiftly this front passes by. Second, some of the snow that is about to fall in some very unusual places is caused by this moisture catching up with the cold air. The snow totals are very specific, so I'm going to delve right in. This is what's happening. This is the first configuration. As a result, some of the cold air is being poured in by the first front that is passing. The tail end is visible to you. Glance back through the Florida Keys and South Florida to see the northern Bahamas with some rain on the north side. Parts of New England and the Atlantic region of Canada have been experiencing snowfall. And now, Texas is speeding into some areas of Mexico as it descends back down here. It's a little difficult to see, but this is a little green, just off the coast of northeast Mexico and heading back toward Texas. This is the initial indication that moisture is entering and rising straight into the chilly air. That's how things are set up on the south side of this. Right here is that first front. Rain and scattered areas close to Honduras and Belize. The Yucatan Peninsula will see some of that moisture dissipating today, followed immediately by sporadic showers in the eastern Caribbean, which I'll highlight for you in a moment. Before we zoom in and get very specific, let's start broad. Here's what's happening now. Later on in the day, there will be a front close to Bermuda, the Atlantic region of Canada, the Bahamas, Cuba, and Jamaica, with cold air rushing in behind it. Naturally, some Arctic air is sweeping into Canada and the U.S. from the Arctic. However, that moisture feed is located directly there. That green area on the map indicates some rain. But take a look at this. Take a look at that white as it rises into the chilly air. There would be snow there. This is by tomorrow afternoon, but I will slow it down in a moment. Unusual snowfall near the tropics includes parts of I-10 in the Florida Panhandle, as well as stretching back through Louisiana, parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. As this sort of moves through, some of the snow from the Carolinas will be in place by tomorrow night when the cold air moves in. That part is a little more complicated because it's difficult to predict how much moisture will be present, but there will be some snow before the front moves back into the northern Bahamas by Wednesday afternoon. We will therefore repeat some of the locations that have experienced the cool early nights, such as Cuba. We'll be in Jamaica, on the edge of the Cayman Islands. But as Wednesday approaches, another system will bring in the cold air once more. You can see that this area moves off when you look ahead. As we move into Thursday, we're watching for some moisture to build up once more. Clearing Bermuda close to the Bahamas, and sitting here with Central America returning through the Gulf of Mexico. But as we move forward, the pattern will become a little more typical. We'll be watching one system as we approach the next weekend. And by the weekend after next week, there will be a few areas of rain and snow working across the United States, a little bit more to the north and not as far to the south. This means that as we return to the Caribbean, we'll see a little warming trend overall with a more southerly flow, which will become more noticeable as we move forward. Because of how unusual this weather event is, I want to start zooming in now. The front for today is there. This afternoon, then, the moisture is there. You cross over to the Baton Rouge region from here in Houston. That cold air is immediately lifted by this moisture. In a moment, I'll show you that Arctic air. Then, by the time we get to tonight and tomorrow morning, some areas on the outskirts of Houston might receive a substantial amount of snow. It will be abruptly cut off to nothing. There is a thin line between rain and snow or sleet, which are ice pellets, and the pink spots in the snow. There is a lot of snow in the southern and central parts of Louisiana. Although snow does occasionally fall in this area, it is unusual to receive even a couple of inches of rain or snow. The snow then moves in the direction of the southern Mississippi. By tomorrow afternoon, there may be a few inches of snow in places of the Panhandle, Florida, just outside of Tallahassee, and then swinging up here in Alabama and back toward Georgia. By the time tomorrow night arrives, it will have been a close call in the Carolinas as we move forward. As you can see, a lot of the moisture begins to move away, but there will still be snow nearer the water, closer to the Atlantic. Thus, it simply depends on the amount of moisture that remains. Following that, there might be a slight shift to the Jacksonville region, where there may be rain, snow, and possibly even sleet. Then, by Wednesday morning, there may still be some snow in Georgia and the Carolinas coastal regions. By Wednesday afternoon, however, all of this activity has subsided. After that, we'll witness a few of those sporadic showers as the Florida Keys return to the Bahamas. And some of the colder air that will return is reinforced by all of this. Currently, the rain totals are zooming down. This map is a little challenging now. In a moment, I will explain that. I should say that I continue to do snow totals. It is uncommon to discuss snow. This green shading you see right here is where we could see more than 2 inches of snow. Brian, it's snow. Houston, you can see right back through here. We'll see some around here before that abrupt cutoff to nothing. Here, I'll zoom down a bit closer. Overall, this map has a high level of resolution. For instance, the white shading that you see here toward Tampa is not snow. The map itself is acting strangely. However, this is where the data I'm looking at is located. As you can see, the models have been indicating that some snow may move a little further south in the Jacksonville area. That's because I've also noticed that the Arctic plunge to the north, which I'll show you in a moment, has shifted even further southward. On the outskirts of Houston, however, you can see southern Louisiana and southern Mississippi, and then you'll reach southern Alabama and the Panhandle of Florida, which stretches back to southern Georgia. Up to 4 inches of snow, that green shading is visible. There may be more than 2 inches of snow in this swath through here and Houston, and then swinging all the way back to the east, but that 4-inch snow marker is most likely to be in southern Mississippi and into southern Louisiana. In the Carolinas, the totals are lower, but they could still range from 1 to 4 inches, though they are more likely to be between 1 and 2 inches. Portions of the Carolinas coastal regions. It is extremely uncommon to witness such a large snowfall event during the tropics this far south. Naturally, this is what is essentially in place at the moment as we examine the temperatures. We are witnessing this unusual occurrence because of the presence of cold air. Right now, the Arctic air is the source of this shading, which is bluish and has moved in cold air. And I demonstrated to you how moisture from Central America is flowing directly into this cold air and lifting just to the north. This tongue of Arctic air has been moving a little bit more southward as we move into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, according to some new data I've been following. This indicates that the push of colder air is moving even further southward overall. The northern Gulf of Mexico will experience some snowfall as a result. The cold air is located exactly where the moisture is consuming it. Setting up the stage and putting cold air in place was our first move. There will be a snow event in many unusual places over the next 2 to 3 days because of the moisture that is now running into that. This is what's beginning to happen on the south side of this, with the front clipping by. We may get a couple showers here in the Bahamas, which include Barbados, St. Lucia, Dominica, and Trinidad. Additionally, there are sporadic showers that are building in Central America and moving northward. Thus, it enters the chilly air. There isn't much of a change there as we move into tomorrow afternoon. The rain in the Gulf of Mexico is moving straight into the cold air behind it, and we're just keeping an eye on a few of the sporadic showers that will be present in the Antigua, Barbuda, Grenada, St. Vincent, and Grenadines before moving forward into Wednesday. Of course, the snow up north is the source of that energy, but there is also that front. Rainfall has increased in the vicinity of Guatemala, but also in Honduras, Belize, the Yucatan Peninsula, and the Cayman Islands. Colder nights will accompany that front as it moves through Cuba and the Bahamas, particularly in the central region of the northern Bahamas.